Our gospel for the Sunday comes to us from the book of Luke, the 16th chapter. Then Jesus said to the disciples, "There was a rich man who had a manager, and charges were brought to him that this man was squandering his property. So he summoned him and said to him, 'What is this I hear about you? Give me an accounting of your management, because you cannot be my manager any longer.' Then the manager said to himself, 'What will I do now that my master is taking the position away from me? I am not strong enough to dig, and I'm ashamed to beg. I have decided what to do so that, when I am dismissed as manager, people may welcome me into their homes.' So summoning his master's debtors one by one, he asked the first, 'How much do you owe my master?' He answered, 100 jugs of olive oil. He said to him, 'Take your bill, sit down quickly, and make it 50. Then he asked another, 'How much do you owe?' He replied, 100 containers of wheat. He said to him, 'Take your bill, make it 80. And his master commended the dishonest manager because he had acted shrewdly. For the children of this age are more shrewd in dealing with their own generation than are the children of light. And I tell you, make friends for yourself by means of dishonest wealth, so that when it is gone, they may welcome you into the eternal homes. Whoever is faithful in very little is faithful also in much, and whoever is dishonest in very little is dishonest also in much. If then you have not been faithful with the dishonest wealth, who will entrust you to the true riches? And if you have not been faithful with what belongs to another, who will give you what is your own? No slave can serve two masters, for a slave will either hate the one and love the other, and be devoted to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve God and wealth." This is the word of the Lord. You may be seated. All right, kids, I need the children for the children's time, but we got to grab something real quick. Come with me back here. Okay, come back here, kids. Okay. What is this bag? Any of you ever used this bag before? No? I bet. Karin, what is this bag? This is a pumpkin bag. So everything you need in order to sell pumpkins is found in here. Yeah. We've got the binder. There's actually, this is what I really want to talk about. There's this. And specifically, what is this, Karin?
That's the bank.
This is the money. Yeah, there's change in here. This is, people are, when they give you cash, they're going to do that. Shake it. There might not be any coins right now. What? Venmo. We got Venmo. Ross is right. We got credit cards. Listen, any way that people want to give us money, we're gonna make it easy for them, right? Isn't that the goal? Credit. We can do credit. We can do invoices. We can do all of the different ways. Do you know why? Because of our budget. We desperately need this pumpkin sale to go really well. Cash App. Do we have Cash App? I don't know what that even is. Okay, well, we're going to get on that, Becca. That's a good point. So today's lesson, we heard a whole lot about money today. We heard about people doing stuff with money that isn't so good, like a person who was actually canceling debts that weren't even his to cancel. We also heard about a guy who was changing the scales they used to use so that the one scale was a little heavier, got him a little better deal. And people, sometimes what they even used to do is when they had gold coins, they would shave the coins and get the little scraps of gold or silver off the coins. So they were just a little bit lighter than they needed to be, and then they could save up those scraps and make themselves a new coin. Isn't that that's kind of deceitful, huh? People have done a lot of bad stuff with money in the world, but here at Clifton Lutheran, if you buy a pumpkin, you're going to do something good with your money. And that's what we tell them. We say, hey, this goes to help the Navajo Reservation. If you come to the Fall Festival, you're going to help the people of Haiti, and you help us to do work in mission in the world. Well, we would go to Jim Nye's bank and put those pennies in the counting machine, and that's what we would do. We have a solution for that too. If you know somebody who has their entire life savings in pennies, we can even take care of them, okay? Okay, guys, this has been great. Remember to get people to come to the pumpkin patch, and remember that there is a way that you can help out here too. You can come and sell pumpkins as well. Everybody can be involved in doing this. important stewardship. Okay, let's sing our song. If anybody asks you who I am, who I am, who I am, if anybody asks you who I am, tell them I'm a child of God. Will you join me in prayer? O Lord, may the meditations of my heart and the words of my mouth be acceptable to you, O Lord, my rock and my redeemer. Amen. If you like your stories to have a very clear good guy and a very clear bad guy, if you like moral clarity of any kind, you are not going to enjoy the parables of Jesus Christ of Nazareth. He unfortunately likes to complicate things. I mean, the good news is that that makes them realistic, because in real life, we're all people. And so meeting somebody like a dishonest manager who seems to work for a fairly, let's say, morally fluid man himself, it means that this is a pretty grounded and realistic story. What happens in it, though? Well, a guy is going to get fired because he's a sleazebag. And we can infer a little bit about this manager because the story that happens right before this is the prodigal son. So if you know anything about what the prodigal son got up to in his sleaziness, that might be an indicator of what this guy's doing with the ill-gotten gains that he's got. Anyway, the next thing is he gets found out. And in what I think is this almost humorous kind of inversion of the Alcoholics Anonymous fearless moral inventory, he goes and does a fearless moral inventory on himself, and he says, well, let's be honest, I'm lazy, I'm prideful, I'm quick to the easy, and I don't have time for the hard. Okay, so what am I going to do? And he comes up with a plan. What's interesting about this plan is it's going to provide a future for him, right? It's going to endear him to others. It will actually accrue him some thankfulness, maybe even accrue him some honor, so that people think about him and think, oh, that's the guy who did me a solid. You know, he took my debt, and it used to be 100, now it's 80. It used to be, 80, and now it's 50. This guy is finding honor for himself. And what's interesting is what it also does to the person who owns the property, the person who actually owned the debts, is that person cannot now go back and reverse it on the people who he did this to. Can you imagine that, right? If the person who owed 100 jars of wheat came to him and said, no, before he was summarily dismissed, your manager turned into 80. That guy can't say back to him, well, make it 100 again, it's 100, right? That'd be something that would dishonor the property owner from the beginning. So he's stuck with it. He's stuck with this new situation that the manager sort of forced him into. And to do otherwise would be to bring dishonor on himself. So we're operating in a culture in the Bible time where honor and dishonor and shame is huge. It's like a currency under the currency. It's how you manage to get things done, how you are decided for a post based on how honorable you are, how you can get your debts. People would say, well, I know you're good for it because you're an honorable man. But what is interesting about this story is that the dishonest manager has managed to take wealth, to take money, and barter it for honor. That is really, really interesting. And it cuts to the core of what our entire church passages are about today, about how central money, the economy, stuff is to our daily lives, and just how deep a hold it has on all of us, in such that we can actually take anything in our lives and commodify it. We can turn it into something that can be bought, sold, and bartered, even our very honor. This is a huge, huge concept, and it's one that we have to kind of dive into, much as it might not be my favorite thing to talk about. What's funny about pastors is that when we receive the call to become a pastor, when we are excited about our whole life that we're going to get to do, I'm excited about children and teaching them about the Bible and the gospel. I'm excited about that. I'm excited about being with all of you, doing your weddings and your baptisms and all these ceremonies. I'm even excited when I get to visit you in the hospital and when something tough happens in your life, and even at your funerals. I'm excited to be up there and to preach the good news that because of Christ we have eternal and abundant life, that there will be a heavenly reunion for all of us. That's the stuff I'm excited about. Money. Not so much. That's not. I don't know a single pastor who said, I'm doing this for the money. I'm doing it because I like money. I like being under a budget constraint. That's just super fun for me. And I like wondering how we're going to pay for stuff. That is not as much fun. But yet, it's not to our credit as pastors that we run away from that stuff, that we shy away from it. That's not good either. Money is important. It's an important part of not only how we live our lives, like we just talked about, how deep money has a hold on us, but also it's the only thing that we can't ignore. If I just took a season off stewardship, we'd be hurting, right? And quite frankly, I have to say, at the end of today's sermon, I'm going to talk about all the different things that the church does with money and how we try to be a part of the economy of this place. But those are important things. If I weren't doing that, if Karin hadn't decided 9 years ago that pumpkins were worth having and selling, we wouldn't be here. We couldn't be a church if we weren't thoughtful about these matters. So it's a fine line. On one hand, the gospel says you cannot serve both wealth and God. And on the other hand, we wouldn't be here if we weren't thoughtful about wealth. I think I found exactly where that line is. It's razor thin. I found it this summer. I found it this summer when I walked into Karl Marx's house. You heard me right. We went to Trier in Germany, which is a beautiful city, and we weren't there to see Karl Marx's house. We were there because it's a beautiful city, and it's got Roman ruins, and it's just an amazing place. But we happened to find Karl Marx's place. And it's a museum, and you get to walk through and see stuff from his life, childhood, impact, some of the things he wrote. It wouldn't necessarily be that important of a historical spot. He only lived there when he was like 3 years old, and then his family moved. But it became a historical spot that was important because the Nazis got a hold of it. And so the Nazis got a hold of it and said, we got to make sure that this is a place where no one goes. They wanted the communists completely out of the picture, so they turned that into a whole thing. After the Nazis, the Marxists were like, well, now we gotta take this place back from what it used to be. So anyway, so now it's the only museum I think that is to his name. And one of the things I learned there, which I didn't know before, is that Marx never called himself a historical materialist. That's been said about him. But it's a way of describing what he was all about, and it can be summed up as this. He said, all there is stuff and who has the power to get it. That's it. That's all there is in the world, is stuff and power. And everything else is an obfuscation. It's somebody trying to get something out of you. My job, he would say, is the worst of all. We're the people who are the worst at offering some obfuscating thing that says, no, there's more to life than that. There's more to life than just stuff. He said, no, there's not. There's nothing more than what you have accumulated or who lets you have it. And anyone like the church who tries to tell you that there's a life hereafter that is beyond the power of riches is just trying to placate you, make you feel better about your poorness. Don't do that. So to be totally frank with you, I want to take that seriously, and I don't want to just throw Marx in the dustbin of history, which is probably a little likely. But that critique about keeping poor people poor is something that the church has done. The Catholic Church did a really bad job. It exploited people. And I think that we have a commitment as a church to say never again. Never again. The church should be for the poor. It should be for lifting people out of poverty and making sure that the systems that kept them there are changed forever. Okay? Done with Karl Marx. The person who came after Karl Marx, who said it maybe even more succinctly, is just Michel Foucault, who said, let's get rid of the stuff part of that analogy. Everything is power. There is only power. Who has it and who can do stuff with it? That's just power. And he kind of drilled down to a nihilism that is on that level. And I get it. That is, this money thing, really, we have to talk about what you can do with money when you have money. Money is power. Money is leverage. And if you don't have it, you don't have the leverage. Like I said, if we didn't do it here, we wouldn't get to be a church. That's fundamentally leverage. But gosh, when you drill it down that deep, I start to get worried about the worldview that comes out of it. I start to get a little worried about our nation's soul if all we've got to go on is power. If that's all that there is, naked ambition, who can do what to whom? I happen to think there's more than that. I happen to think that our lives are filled with more than that. Sunai, this week you took me to bocce ball, and we played a little bocce, and on the way out, a man there who was a very well-respected person in Marblehead called me over, and he said, I had to get him real close, and he said, Jim, you've got a good reputation in Marblehead. Woo! Yeah, I felt good. That was, oh my gosh, you couldn't puff me up any bigger than that, right? But between that and the 10th year anniversary party, I mean, Kara's going to have to work hard to keep me humble for a while, which is her sacred duty. But that really was a moment where I felt that power, that Marblehead, like, and how I longed for that. So whether it's money, whether it's honor, whether it's whatever, we do need that. We need to have that. And I do feel proud that he said that, and I feel proud that this church has been a place that is valuable to the community. The community knows that we're here and that we can be found. So all of the things that I'm about to list off that we do involve money. They do. They involve the church in some way earning money or are part of our budget. But because I have to dismiss that that's all there isness of this, I want you to think about what else is happening when we do these things. So I'll give you the first one is the pumpkins. Yeah, we've got great pumpkins out front, and they make money for the church. But what else is it? It's a connection point with people who now know that there is Sunday morning worship service, that there's a place where they can go and be seen and valued as a community member, where they can hear words of grace, forgiveness, renewal. I think that the pumpkins mean a lot to the Navajo people, and they mean a lot to us, and I think that's important. We've got a dance company. Have you seen that? Downstairs, we've got a dance school now who are in our basement every single night of the week, basically. And yeah, they're kicking us a little rent. That's nice. It's appreciated. But what else is really happening there? When young people are learning the joy of moving their bodies and learning what an artistic use of our bodies, our human frame even is, there's more. There's more to that, isn't there? We've got our potential plan to put solar on our roof. And if we get through with that, and if the town of Marblehead says yes to us selling power to them, great, that's some cash for our coffers. But what else is that when we decide that Marblehead power is produced in Marblehead, not in Canada, and not by burning coal, but by the sun that God gave us? What else is happening there when we do it that way? And lastly, I'm about to pass the plate. It's offering time. We will have a stewardship season again. I'm counting on each and every one of you to look into your own life and finances and make it a part of what you're doing here. And that's important to the church, yeah. That's how we make our money. But what else is there? What is it when you say that my leverage, my power, my money, my honor, whatever it is you have, is going to be a part of this place, that you are dedicating yourself and your very lives to building up God's church and the gospel of Jesus Christ that's preached here? It's something more, isn't it? I am a firm believer that there is something more to our lives than just the money, than just the stuff, than just even how people think of us and what they let us do. there is something more. That is so important for this world to know. And in addition to what we do with our cash, I hope that if you know somebody who today's message would have resonated with, who is living in a world that is dangerously close to that's all there isness, and the nihilism of Michel Foucault, for instance, that you tell them about here, and that you offer this to them as a place where they'll find something more. Amen.